Hello! In this video, I'm gonna show you the first step of document understanding, the classification. The objective of the classification is to identify the type of the document that is being processed, based on the types defined in the taxonomy, so that a robot can know which fields should be extracted from the file, as those fields were also defined in the taxonomy. This classification is made using previously trained classifiers that can always evolve and present better results through retrains that are executed as the documents are processed. UiPath has three main classifiers: the keyword-based classifier, the intelligent keyword-based classifier, and the machine learning classifier. I'll talk about them soon. So let's go to the workflow. Here I have the workflow where we stopped from last video, and the first thing I'm going to do is to add our new sequence here after the digitization. I'll call it classification. Okay, following the UiPath best practices, I'm gonna do the same thing I did in the previous videos. I'm gonna create many workflows to be put here in the main workflow. So from here, from the classification sequence, we can add a new sequence here, and I'll call it classification once again. I'll put it here in the steps folder and click on create. Okay, so the first activity I'm gonna put here is a log message for logging purposes. And I'll just type here classifying document. Right. Now the second activity is the classified document scope. In this activity is where the classification of the files that are processed will happen. We can see here that we have many inputs and just one output, and here we can drop the classifiers that I mentioned earlier. So the path I'm going to create here, I'll call inFile, and then the text and the document object model that were generated by the digitization step. I'll create them too, in text and in DOM, and also the taxonomy we defined. Once again, in taxonomy. This variable here, classification results, our output, is a variable that holds the type of the document that the classifiers generated, along with some other information. I'll create it here. Let me just, okay, out classification results. And you can see here there is an array of classification results. Okay. Now I will work with the classifiers finally. So the thing about this classified document scope is that we can work with many classifiers concurrently, if I can say this. Well, I'll start by putting here the keyword-based classifier. Here it is. It's the first classifier, the most simple one, and it requires only a learning file path as input. So I'll put it here, document processing, and I'll put it together with our config file and our taxonomy JSON. So document processing, and I'll call it keyword based.json, because the file should be a JSON. Right. How it works is we click here on Manage Learning, and here we can see all the types of documents that we defined on our taxonomy. In our case, it's only seg. And now we click here on Add New Keyword Set, and here we can write as many words as we want, but we should be writing words that are common throughout our documents. So here in the case of SEG, we can put SEG, Naturgy, maybe conta, bill, gas, and so on. What this does is our classifier is going to search on the file for these words. So if it finds many, it will try to guess that the document is of SEG type. Now we just hit save, and it's almost ready to work. Here is the JSON created. I will show it shortly. Okay, here it is. It's a very simple JSON. We have the document type ID, bills, gas, SEG, and here the words are defined. Basically that. We can close it for now. And let's move to the second classifier, the intelligent keyword based classifier. It's kind of a better version of the keyword based, and it requires some inputs once again, the learning file path, but now an endpoint also, and an API key. In our case, the API key is the same as we use in the digitization step in the UiPath document OCR, but I will not fill it for now. So I will provide a learning path once again, document processing, intelligent keyword .json, and once again click here in manage learning. Right, we can see that the structure of this window is kind of different because I cannot provide the words manually. For this to happen, I must click here on start training and select some files that the classifier should be trained. So I have here this little folder. I'll choose these 5 SEG files. Note that it doesn't have to be a PDF necessarily. We can have as well PNGs, JPEGs, and etc. And now we can choose here an OCR engine of our choice. I will put UiPath document OCR. Here we have the API key and also an endpoint, and we can hit start training. The files are going to be processed, and then the training is going to be made. Nice, the training has been finished, and we can see here that we have many words that were automatically generated from the 5 files I chose as input. So I can hit save, and this JSON file here of the intelligent keyword, it's basically the same structure as the keyword based, although with some minor difference. But now we have many more words than the keyword based JSON. And now for the last but not least classifier, it's the machine learning classifier, and we have to download a package that contains it. So we just click here on all packages and search for document understanding, and here it is, UiPath document understanding ML activities. We click install and save. Okay, we can now search for it here. Machine learning classifier, here it is. Okay. And now it asks for 2 inputs, an ML skill and API key. An ML skill is a skill created in AI Fabric on UiPath's AI Fabric on the cloud that is trained to classify certain documents. In my case here, I have this skill Invoices BR, that is my skill trained for SAG, Light, and Chin documents. The details about creating this skill and using them on their workflows I will talk about them in the uploader video. It will be a separate video from this one that will be available in our description of this video. I have to put here my API key. Okay, and then I click here on Get Capabilities so I can update the skill arguments. So here it is. We don't have to manage any learning. And now we can click here finally on Configure Classifiers. So here we can see once again the document types we defined in the taxonomy, in our case just a SAG. And now we could, if we had many document types, we could choose which classifier to use in each type. So for example, if we had here document types of SAG, Chin, and Claro, we could maybe use keyword for SAG, intelligent for Chin, and machine learning for Claro. In our case, here in this video and the next ones, we will be focusing on the machine learning classifier and also the extractor, machine learning extractor. So I will delete these two classifiers here since we're not using them. I'll just leave here the machine learning classifier. This little gear here, gear icon, opens that option I filled in earlier. Right. Here on SAG, as I said, my skill is for SAG, Light, and Chin documents. So I just have to choose here SAG, and the classifier should be working now. Okay, let's go back to the main workflow and drag our classification step here to the main workflow. I will import the documents. Oh, I forgot to change the... Oh. Okay. Paths counter. Basically the same as the digitization step. Here we choose text. Here DOM. Also the taxonomy. And here I have to create the classification results. Okay. This part is finished. Let me just check my... Okay, everything seems fine. Oh, sorry, it's here. Everything seems fine. Let me just change the scope. Right. Now, for the last part of our demonstration, I will put here a flow decision after the classification. Let me just organize this a little better. Right. So this flow decision will do the following. It will validate if our classification results are accurate enough. So the condition I have to put here is this one. Let me just explain it quickly. The classification results, as I said, is an array of classification result. So if its length is 0, it means that the variable is empty. So the classification didn't return any value, or it returns a document type of type unknown. So we must validate that. If this doesn't happen, we can also check the confidence of our classification results. So here, if it's below or the same as 0.65 or 65%, it will open the validation station that I will put shortly. But to force this validation to appear, I'll put here 1 as in 100%. So if the confidence is below 100%, the validation station will appear. And now we can put the true and false branches here. They will be 2 sequences. Right? This one is the present validation station. And this one will be validation not needed. I'll start by the true branch. So let me create another sequence to follow the best practices and put here validation station. Oh, classification station, sorry. Classification station. Put here into the steps folder and hit create. Nice. So here we can add another log message with the message presenting classification station. And after it, we can put the classification station. It's this activity here. Some simple inputs, nothing new here. And the new one is the validated classification results. It's basically the same as the automatic classification results that our classification step generated, but now with the correct confidences and corrections. So I must fill here, once again with in file, in text, in DOM, in taxonomy, and here in classification results. Perfect. For our output, we will create the out validated classification results. Nice. We can hit save and go back to the main workflow, and once again put here the classification station workflow here. Import the arguments, paths, counter once again, the text, the DOM, the taxonomy, the classification results, and now we can create the validated classification results variable. Okay, let me change our scope here. Once again, let me check the variables panel. Everything seems right. And now we can go here to the false branch to do the last thing in this video. We will put here a simple assign, no need to create another workflow, for the validated classification results. If no validation is needed, then the validated classification results are the same as the classification results. So only this variable will pass from this point of the workflow. Nice. So to demonstrate everything working, I will fill our Excel config spreadsheet and then I'll return processing some documents. Okay, I filled our config spreadsheet and made some some adjustments to the workflow. I just put this assign activity here so I can increase the counter, and then all the files in my processing folder will be processed. I put here 2 documents, this of SEG and also this from Tim. And as I said, the expected behavior of our classifier is to correctly classify this document here of type SEG, and this one from Tim it will leave as unknown type because it was not trained for this. I can close this. And one thing I forgot to mention, well, actually two things, is that here in the classification steps, once the capabilities of our skill were updated, I can put here the same thing as I did in previous videos. I can pass the API key inside the config file, so everything is centralized there. So it's a little change that I made to the workflow. And also, other thing I forgot to mention is that this validation here in the classification station can be made both here in Studio by using this present classification station, but also we can use it in the Action Center, UiPath's Action Center on the web, using the correct activities, right? I don't know if I have them here. Here, the create document classification action. But for now, I will use the present classification station to keep things simple. Right, now we can just run the workflow and see its behavior. So here's the classification station. We can see here the document and that it's been classified with 87% confidence as a seg type. So it's correct, and as I said, anything less than 100% would trigger the classification station, so it's working fine. We can hit save here and now wait for the other document to be processed. So once again, our classification station, and now we can see that is a document of type Chin, and it is of unknown type, that our classifier gave us. We could correct it here, but we don't have the type Chin defined in our taxonomy, just the seg one. So let's just leave it as not classified, hit save, and there are no more files to be processed, and the workflow is terminated. So this is the end of our demo. Thanks for watching and see you next time.